Hey guys, this is Neon, and we're back. We're going to talk about pop culture media. In particular, we're going to talk about gaming sites. We're going to talk about how there's been a real shift in a lot of these pop culture news outlets. We've talked about it in previous videos. We've talked about all the layoffs that have occurred at companies like BuzzFeed and Vice, and we talked about how what's left of Gawker over at Gizmodo recently got sold, and there are definitely some changes coming. So this is coming from One Angry Gamer. Waypoint, Broadly, and Tonic folded into Vice following investment from George Soros et al. So this very far left gaming site, Waypoint, is actually being sort of folded into Vice as Vice tries to restructure to stay relevant. Because again, a lot of these websites are either closing up shop or they're consolidating, they're getting closed off, they're laying off quote unquote journalists. I mean, it's been absolutely crazy. It was a massacre a couple of months ago with BuzzFeed and a few others. So Vice announced that Waypoint, Broadly, and Tonic were all being folded into the main Vice website. Now, we saw this with Gizmodo. They sort of absorbed IO9. We'll talk about IO9 here in a little bit. The subdomains would no longer exist, and some of the staff were let go from the verticals, but details on that remain sketchy. This comes shortly after securing $250 million in debt from investment firm 23 Capital, along with financing from George Soros, Source Fund Management. Vice Union rolled out the news in the late morning of May 6th via a tweet, indicating that during these challenging times, they need to make some structural changes to the business. They noted that Tonic, Broadly, and the video game section Waypoint would all be folded in under the main Vice.com website. While Noisy Music, Munchies, and Motherboard, Motherboard I've heard of, Noisy Music I have not heard of, would continue to operate as their web portals. Yeah, so these are the tweets. What a hell of a way to find out, right? Via Twitter. The notice takes on a far more ominous tone than what some of the other verticals are saying in their own words. Over on the new games section, which is now located under Vice.com, Editor-in-Chief Austin Walker states that the staff is still intact and will continue to produce the content that they've been writing. We will be more equipped than ever to bring the complexity of our analysis, the rigor of our reporting, and the curiosity about how and why we play to the world, the opinions, and all of that. We now have an even deeper bench of writers, critics, and reporters, people who love games and are as excited as we are to dig into the culture, to take digs at the culture, to dig into the culture that surrounds them. You'll keep hearing our voices on Waypoint Radio and can follow us on our established social media handles. And if you're a Waypoint Discord or forum user, everything is continuing as is. Plus, now that we're all part of a single Vice.com, you'll see our work in other corners too. It's unclear if there have been staff changes. Austin Walker still on board, along with former Kotaku and Giant Bomb alum Patrick Klepek, who assured fans that it's still the same crew. Don't worry, everything's fine. It's all fine here. We're all fine here. The rest of the social media front is eerily silent about any changing of the guard at Waypoint in particular, and they actually warned their own community against asking about this very... Whoa. And they actually warned their own community against asking about this very topic on their forum. Don't ask questions. There's a post from the moderator that reads, "Do not speculate on hires or personal lives of staff or personalities of this or any other site. Remember, this is a person's livelihood. Their personal lives are not content. We know that this speculation comes from a place of wanting the best for staff members, but this kind of speculation can easily veer into uncomfortable, intrusive, or unhelpful territory for anyone involved." A lot of these sites veer into uncomfortable, intrusive, and unhelpful territory when it comes to speculating about the personal lives and beliefs and all of that of their subjects. A lot of these pop culture and gaming sites do that, right? So we know for sure some staff were already let go from Broadly, courtesy of a tweet from one of the writers, I believe, who stated that some of the staff was moving over to the news section at Vice. Not everybody. This comes just a couple days removed from news reports indicating that Vice raised capital from various firms and investors, in addition to current investors Shane Smith, Disney, A&E Networks, TPG Capital, Fortress Investment Group, and Monroe Capital, as reported by Broadband TV News. The real news is that $250 million in debt from investment was headed up by none other than billionaire globalist George Soros. So, Soros Soros Fund Management was one of the leading investors keeping Vice afloat, while the company continues to bleed money and staff. And yeah, back in February, they laid off 10% of its workforce. Given the shift in format, it doesn't sound like everyone's jobs at Vice will be safe in the near future, but we'll see how it all turns out, given how Waypoint has established an anti-gaming bent, catering to social justice warriors and even refusing to review real games like Kingdom Come Deliverance. That was an issue. I remember that was a big issue. Now we're hearing that the new Earthworm Jim game may not get reviewed on some gaming sites because the journalists don't like some of the people working on the game, like Doug TenNapel, because of his conservative Christian beliefs. That seems to be the case. So because the developers rebuffed the notion to pretend that their testicular extremities were ovaries and held firm to their original creative vision. So this is nothing new under the sun, right? All these sites are starting to fold, and they're not sustainable. Like, I don't think that there are nearly as many people reading these websites as they like to pretend to investors. Because a lot of people just they're not on these sites. I don't think I think some of the traffic might be fake. I don't know. I'm wondering because, clearly the advertisers are not flocking to these websites or they would be fine. So here's the thing, right? So Gawker, we all know about Gawker. We've talked about Gawker. Gawker owns Kotaku. They own Jezebel. They own IO9, which we're not seeing as a separate vertical anymore. They've sort of rolled IO9 into the bigger Gizmodo site. They own AV Club and a few others, but they got purchased a couple of weeks ago by Geo Media. And they flat out said, hey guys, we're going to have a new kind of a new editorial focus. And the editorial focus is we got to make money. So Geo Media lays off 25 staffers after the new CEO said he didn't expect layoffs at former Gizmodo Media Group. Surprise! Usually when these websites get bought up, people lose their jobs. That's how it works. And it's sort of like Highlander here. I think a lot of the problem is these websites have too many subsites. They've got do you really need 16 different flavors of Gizmodo? It's all the same shit, right? It's all pretty much the same thing, except for maybe the Onion. Less than a week after Jim Spamfeller of the newly formed Geo Media said he was not expecting to make layoffs, surprise, he's making layoffs. And, I think they're going to fold, some of these. I really expect at the end of it, they might just have Gizmodo and maybe one or two other sites. And they're kind of going to do what Vice is doing and just sort of be like, look, we have a sports section and we have an entertainment section. We don't need three different websites. I think you're going to see them consolidate, and that means that there are going to be fewer bloggers out there. So they're laying staffers off. Again, nobody has been laid off from Kotaku that I'm aware of, but I think it's coming. I really think it's coming. I don't think Kotaku's going to be shut down, but I could totally see them taking Kotaku and turning it into just a game section of Gizmodo. But, the prime directive, as I understand it now, is these websites have to actually make money, and they haven't been. Most of these websites are living off of venture capital. They're living off of venture capital, hoping to stay alive long enough for some sucker to come along and buy them for millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I think the truth is coming out that most of them are not profitable. I think your average mom and pop website, with a handful of staffers, or maybe just a YouTuber, just single YouTubers are more inclined to make money off of this than hiring a whole bunch of staff and whatever. And we know the rates on these websites, they're not paying their people very much, and you kind of get what you pay for. I think it was on What Culture. Yeah, What Culture. Okay, so What Culture is another one of these sites that they sort of publish these filler kind of garbage articles, and a lot of them, they're all over the place. A lot of them tend to attack fandoms and espouse very strong opinions. And the reality is these sites don't pay their people very much. I mean, some of them do, but a lot of times they're just looking for content. They don't give a shit what it is, as long as it's trending, and a lot of times this is how you get these really weird voices coming into, quote unquote media to stir shit, because they're not really there to be a journalist. They're there to voice an opinion, get paid a little bit for it, and get their blue check on Twitter. So I was looking at What Culture, and this is a pretty sizable site. I mean, What Culture has, 8,000 Alexa, so it's pretty highly trafficked. But when you go to what do I get paid, we're talking they earn half a pound for every 1,000 views generated in the first 28 days of publication. Now, I don't know what the average view count is on a lot of these articles, but I know many websites I've been to, pop culture sites, the ones that actually do have public stats, some of these articles only get a couple of thousand views, so somebody might be writing some garbage article and only getting paid like $10 for it at the most, and you kind of get what you pay for. I'm not saying all of these people are bad journalists. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying, I think the standards are lower, and there's really no financial incentive for serious journalists to work for a lot of these pop culture sites. They're just, geeks like us that, well, maybe not quite like us, but they're geeks who want to write about their passion. A lot of times they are using the platform to espouse political beliefs, which I think drives the traffic down. It has the opposite effect, and then the investors are kind of like, why is it not making money? Why are you chasing off, 75% of our audience with your wacky political views and getting all weirdly political about Spider-Man or whatever, and when you're only paying people, this, what do you expect? What do you expect? So this is going to continue. All these layoffs are going to continue, I think. And I think before it's all said and done, Kotaku probably will just, be rolled into Gizmodo. I mean, how many other video game sites like Joystick, have died? I mean, AOL pulled the plug on, they had a video game site. They had a comic book site. I think it was Comics Alliance. And they actually, this is a couple of years ago. I think they actually were kind of sort of making money, and they just pulled the plug on them because they're like, it's not worth chasing this anymore. And I think we're going to see more and more of this. I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation and a focus on streamlining online journalism. Again, you don't need freaking 40 different brands if it's all the same stuff. And I think they do that to sort of trick investors into thinking that they're investing in more than they actually are. In reality, you're basically investing in one or two websites and all these spin-offs. But yeah, this is going to continue to happen. So I think these people, I don't know if I'm allowed to say learn to code, but I think you need to have a backup career if you're a pop culture or gaming journalist. Please subscribe to Clownfish TV for more pop culture news, views, rants, gaming videos, and more. This has been Neon. I'll talk to you later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.